Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Animal Behavior. We're still talking about displays. Animals use all kinds of things to communicate with one another. Odors, postures, sounds, light, movements, all sorts of things. Because you've got a signal being sent, that signal can actually be intercepted. An intercepted signal is when an individual of another species uses a signal against the signaler. Example, when a frog is calling, it's specifically a male frog. And when that male frog is calling, what he's trying to do is he is trying to get the attention of a female frog. He's basically saying, hey baby, come on over. He is broadcasting that signal far and wide. While yes, his target is a female frog, anything in the vicinity with ears can hear his signal. There are some species of bats that specialize in eating frogs. Guess how they find them? They just focus in on a male that is calling, and then they go and, because they're really good at echolocation and really good at pinpointing where sounds are coming from, the bat swoops in and eats the frog. That is interception. Yes, this signal was not meant for me, but I'm going to use it, and I'm going to use it for my benefit and your detriment. You can also have deception. Deception is when an individual of a separate species, of a second species, mimics the signal of a different species. There's several examples of this. There is an orchid that will actually mimic the mating pheromone of a wasp species. Male wasps are attracted in, they land on the orchid, and because the center of the orchid is vaguely female wasp shaped, will try to have sex with it and fail because there's no bits to have sex with. The male will then fly away frustrated from that orchid, and then will smell and see another one. So he goes to another flower and he lands on it and tries to have sex with it and fails. And so they just go from flower to flower to flower, getting frustrated and sore as he tries to mate with these flowers that have mimicked his species' mating pheromone. Another example of deception is from fireflies. We said in the previous video that the male firefly will flash, and then the female will wait a certain amount of time, 1, 2, 3 seconds, something like that, and then she'll flash back. Each different species has a different time delay. You can actually attract a firefly to your hand using a flashlight. Go out on a summer evening and have a flashlight and just stand in your yard and watch for fireflies. When you see one flash, do a quick 1/1000. Do a quick count and then flash in your hand. And if that doesn't get their attention after 3 or 4 or 5 tries, wait 2 seconds, wait 3 seconds. So what happens then is that the male will flash and a female will flash back. And then he'll fly towards her and he'll flash, and then she'll flash back. And then he'll fly towards her and he'll flash and she'll flash back. And then he flies in and lands. Well, there's a particular species of firefly, it's actually quite large, and this female will mimic the time delay of a different species, a smaller species, and she'll attract this guy in, and when she does, she eats him. Deception, using a signal against the signaler, against another species. With social behaviors, often comes social groups. Why live in a group? Why live together? There are a number of benefits for living together. There's also some problems that come with living together. First of all is individuals of the same species need the same resources. They need the same kind of shelter, they need the same amount of water, they need the same amount of food. So if you are of the same species, living together, you will be in competition with one another. So it actually makes sense to live by yourself. If I live by myself, all the food that's in my fridge is mine. All of the ice cream is mine. I can leave my clothes wherever I want and nobody cares. I don't have to fight with anybody because living by myself, I'm not in competition with anybody. If I'm living in a group of people, well, now I have to share. I am competing with them. All right? So there are problems with living together, but lots of animals live together. The question is, what are the benefits? Because if they're doing it, there has to be a benefit. And what is that benefit? Well, if it's a prey species, the benefit is, well, there's lots of them, but the benefit is cooperative predator avoidance. This is safety in numbers. A single predator is much less likely to be successful against many large prey. Example. Imagine you are walking alone in a bad neighborhood at night. You're walking down the street. What happens when 3 or 4 thugs see you? A single person, all by yourself, at night. 2 or 3 guys, they're going to beat you up. Take your stuff. Why did they attack you? Because you were alone. Well, what if it's 3 or 4 of your friends and you're walking together through a bad neighborhood at night? Well, now 2 or 3 thugs aren't just going to attack you because they can't easily overwhelm you. There's more of you than there are of them. So it's going to take a larger group of them to be successful if they want to attack you. Safety in numbers. Cooperative predator avoidance. Lots of animals will live together in groups for safety. Lots of prey species. To be fair, almost all prey species I can think of, they live together. Cows, horses, sheep, goats, chickens. Most prey species live in groups specifically for cooperative predator avoidance. Very often, if there are young within the group, the adults will form a protective circle around the young if a predator threatens. Examples of this are elephants, cows will do this. You know, a pack of wolves is going to have a really hard time bringing down an adult cow, but it'll be very easy for them to bring down a single calf. So the adults will surround the babies with the babies in the center of the protective circle. Along with this idea of cooperative predator avoidance, we have to talk about something called the selfish herd hypothesis. The selfish herd hypothesis says that yes, they will group together in numbers to protect themselves against a predator. However, another advantage to being in a group is not only does it take more predators to be successful against this large group, but it's also that if they are successful, maybe they won't get me, and maybe they'll take you. The selfish herd hypothesis. I really don't care if you live or die. I just don't want to die. Watching some of those nature shows, you can see like when they got that big ball of fish, that bait ball it's called, those fish are frantically swimming. They're not frantically swimming out into all directions. They're frantically swimming into one area. And they're all trying to be where? They all want to be in the middle. Because if you're on the outside, what's going to happen? Well, then you're easy prey. Then you can get picked off. Then you can get attacked if you're on the outside. If you're in the middle, you're safe. Selfish herd hypothesis. Everybody wants to be where? In the middle. Can everyone be in the middle? No. Some individuals have to be on the outside. So what happens is at some point you're safe in the middle and you're like, yay, I'm safe. No one can get me here. And then, but the middle constantly shifts because everybody on the outside go, oh God, I'm on the outside. And they try to swim to be in the middle again. Selfish herd, which is why the ball is constantly spinning and changing because all the ones on the outside are trying to dive into the center to be safe. Selfish herd hypothesis. If you live in a group, very often you'll have a dominance hierarchy. Dominance hierarchy is many social groups are organized. You have a leader, you have subordinates all the way down, and not always, but often, you will always have a leader. But after the leader, there may or may not be rankings below that. And sometimes there are. There are rankings that go all the way down. And so they know their place in the dominance hierarchy. When you have a dominance hierarchy, as I said, it's led by one or a pair of individuals. And as we said, often they're ranked accordingly underneath of that. If we look at these two birds, which bird is the dominant bird? When you look at them, look at this one's posture, look at that one's posture. This one has ducked its head down, this one has closed up its tail, this one has pulled its wings in tight, this one is not staring at that one. All of these postures, all of these imply what? This individual is trying to look smaller. This individual is trying to say, I'm not a threat. Look at this one. Tail held high, wing spread out, head held high, staring right at the other one. Which is the dominant bird? Which is the subordinate bird? This is the dominant, this is subordinate. She has probably just pecked that one to remind it of its place. A dominant hierarchy with lots of species. You have a leader, and then you have subordinates underneath of that.